Hello, good afternoon. It is the 5th of April here in the UK where I live, and it is Tuesday. I am still reading After We Fell by Todd. Now, I don't suppose a lot of people who have obviously been viewing this have actually realised, but sadly in the UK, unless you've actually got something like, I believe it's Amazon Prime, you cannot see all of the after movies that have been made and released, which is why I keep saying, although I've seen some of the trailers to the movies, I've seen information on YouTube about the movies, I've only seen the first movie, which inspired me to read Anna Todd's After collection. I'm on the third book of this collection, and the one thing that has completely aggravated me is, why are Hardin's tattoos not explained? So please, anyone out there, if you could message me and explain why Hardin has so many tattoos and the meanings behind them, that would be fantastic, because it is bugging me. The other thing I also wanted to point out is, I don't know whether this would have happened on set or not, but it constantly says in the book how, although Hardin is quite a heavy drinker, he drinks whiskey a lot, his breath always smells of mint, which makes me believe that he either carries loads of mints around with him to hide the fact that he's been drinking or smoking, or he's consciously brushing his teeth. So that is one thing I would really like to know, is whether or not Hero finds Hero Tiffin finds actually had his breath smell of mint throughout the movie as part of getting into the character. But that's more of a personal thing. I just know from past experiences when working with people, one of the things that you do not want to be renowned for is halitosis. So I'm pretty sure that before any of these sort of intimate scenes that took place between the characters and between the actors, obviously, they made sure they brushed their teeth or at least carried some mints in their back pocket. So where am I in the book? To be honest, I haven't got much further than what I had done yesterday. I am on chapter 54, but I have stopped there for a reason. Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. Some people say that's supposed to be good luck, but I don't know about that. Because at the end of chapter 53, again, a bit of a spoiler alert if you haven't read the book or seen any of the films, it's official, Hardin and Tessa have broken up. And what makes it even more sad for me reading it, I didn't cry, it didn't make me cry, was how when she left the gifts that Hardin had given her in the bedroom. So she left the charm bracelet that Hardin had made for her for Christmas. She left her ebook that he brought her for her birthday. And she left, I believe, what was his copy of Wuthering Heights that she stole. And she also leaves the letter that Hardin wrote her. Now, it's funny because in the movie After, the first movie, which drew me to read the book, I really loved the ending of that film. I loved the ending, how Hardin wrote a letter to Tessa, even though it was supposed to be part of his end of year, like what we would call coursework in the United Kingdom. And he basically says that despite everything, to him, Tessa is his Elizabeth Bennet. Even though in the book, After We Fell, he says to her, you're not living in a fantasy. You know, I am not Mr. Darcy. This is real life. You know, this is what happens when you're in a relationship with somebody. Get your head out of the clouds sort of attitude. And then you find out from reading the books, or if you've seen the movies, that the letter he wrote her didn't really happen, or did it? it's one of those mysteries. But he does write her a letter. He writes her a letter in after we collided. He writes it to her just after during Christmas holidays, confessing all of his deadly sins, telling her that he knows that he's more than likely going to hurt her again. It's inevitable. But the one thing he will never stop doing is loving her and wanting her in his life. And he writes her this letter, and it's very personal. It's a very personal thing for someone to do. He writes about how he started drinking, when he lost his virginity, when he first got his first piercing, when he got his first tattoo, and the meaning, even though he didn't like birds, he still got a tattoo of birds. Okay. And he kind of changes his outlook and the way he behaves around her for her. And he even takes his piercings out, and everyone says, oh, you've took them out for your girlfriend. But he hasn't. It's a way of him sort of showing his maturing, coming into his own as an adult, knowing that maybe by removing some of the piercings or covering up some of the tattoos, it's going to make him look more professional, more presentable when it comes to potentially exploring other avenues of employment in the future. But no, she leaves these things with him, which to me shows that she clearly doesn't want to be with him anymore. I have never been in a relationship where people have really brought me anything. So I've never been in a situation where I've ended up having to give anything back. Also, in my opinion, if someone brought me jewellery, I wouldn't give it them back anyway, because they've brought it for me. I'd want to keep it. But I've never done the whole, oh, you've got my CD, you've got my book, you've got this, you've got that, we need to meet up to swap everything back again. Luckily, I've never been in that situation. Have I left things at people's houses on occasions? Yes, and foolishly gone and collected them, thinking, what an idiot, I shouldn't have bothered, I could have just brought these again. But I've never been in a relationship where I've given everything back that somebody has purchased for me or gifted to me. And I think by Anna Todd putting that in her book, it's sort of showing how much Tess wants to move on from Hardin. She wants to no longer be affiliated with him in any way whatsoever, because he's broken her, and that is how she feels. She feels like he has broken her. So at the end of chapter 53, the end of the letter that he writes, which again is kind of rewrote, not in its entirety, is, I am sorry for all the pain I have caused you, and I understand if you can't forgive me. And that is the last sentence of what he writes. And he recalls how she did forgive him. But now, all of a sudden, because of everything that's happened over the last sort of 72 hours, for argument's sake, she doesn't want to give up on her dreams. And I think to myself, fair play. Why should you? Why should anyone? But then at the same time, if you really want to be with somebody, you would include them in your dreams at some point. So thank you very much, and I'll be in touch later on.